We keep going because it's a fantasy grill. I'm Anthony Kidd, and you noticed I'm not alone this time. We got the fantasy gods. Did I say it? I want to say it because it's spelled Gawd.
You gotta say it. You gotta say it the way gods. It's the
gods.
Gods, yeah, with your chest, man.
You gotta say it with the chest because I looked up gods and I was like, no, that didn't work. Gods. I hit. It's like, oh, there they are. I found you guys. Yeah. All right, so we got Daniel and Justin with us. How you guys doing?
Gods, man.
Oh, we're doing good, man. Thanks for having us. I appreciate you on the show, man. It's an honor, man.
Hey, you know,
yeah, love to be on here. Definitely fantasy. It's a little bit it can be a little rough right now for some teams. There's week 9 is 6 teams on a bye heading into this week. And right now is also do or die for a lot of fantasy teams. So let's see how it goes.
So I'm going to tell you. So I play in a bunch of leagues. One, I play kind of in my main league, you know, with everybody like where I know like my people, and I'm the commissioner, and I'm so focused on being the commissioner. I feel like my team stinks. They're okay. They're okay. I play in the Player's Choice. You guys joined us on Player's Choice on Gridiron once. I'm in first place in that league. So
that's right.
You saw the competition. I also got to worry about Mr. Taekwondo over here.
Hey,
what's going on, man?
You have a fantasy. He's playing his first round of fantasy basketball, but we're talking about football.
How old is he?
He's 8.
8, yeah. That's a fun age to start. I got a 12-year-old doing the same thing, man. It's fun.
At fantasy basketball, he's winning. Good.
That's right.
Hey,
that's right.
I love it.
All right, thanks, brother.
Cool.
He's starting his own show. He's gonna start Fluent Kids.
That's right.
In a minute.
Hey,
but yeah,
well, if you need somebody to come on and throw some spicy takes, I got a 12-year-old that'll match his energy.
That's right.
Dude, don't joke. We should set that up. That'll probably
Let's do it.
Big numbers. Let's do it. All right.
That's good.
He did his basketball draft and he was good. Like if I tell you his basketball team, I'll run it down for you. You know what? We talk fantasy here. Why not? We add
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I can do it. Check out his team here. Hold on. Now keep in mind, not a lot of teams in this league because he's 8 and it's only family.
It's a 2-man league.
No,
dad and son.
6. Mom, dad, his twin sister. So yeah. All right. So let's see. His team, of course, is called Steph Curry.
Of course.
So I'm just gonna run it down. There's no order, but you got Luka Doncic, Devin Booker, KD, Scotty Barnes, Kat, Drew Holiday, Paul George, Zach LaVine, Jordan Poole, Brooke Lopez, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, OG Anunoby.
I can't be mad at that. Bench is stacked.
That's a solid lineup, right? So
let's go.
I was like, really? He's like, yeah. And he goes, I
was gonna say he's kind of got the lineup where it's like, well, who do I start now? Like, because I have everybody. Everybody's good.
Playing.
Yeah, right.
So I was gonna tell you. So I'm in that league that I'm commissioned, the PC league that I'm in first and just won again. But I'm in this is the one that I might ask you some questions on because I'm in you know what a guillotine league is?
I've heard of it. I don't actually know how.
Okay, so if you're last, you're out, or something like that.
If you're last, you're out, and all your players go into free agency, into waivers, but you have to bid on them, and you only get $1,000 for the year to bid on players. Yeah. And you don't play against each other. Just the top scores win, the bottom one out.
Wow.
So I've made it this far, but here's the thing. I won the lottery. I got the first pick. I did not, and I made it. This is a cardinal rule that I tell people: know the rules of your league. I did not know it was a 2 QB league.
Oh,
so I did not take a quarterback, and I made it this far with Jameis Winston.
Wow.
And Matt Ryan, who I've had to since obviously piecework together. I now have the amazing combination of Zach Wilson and Justin Fields. So they did last week was actually good, not horrible. So we might have to talk about, you know, I might give you some scenarios on those, but let's get to fantasy. Let's right off the bat, we got a bunch of trades.
Yeah.
There one trade that you think, or 2 trades that are like, this is the biggest fantasy impact?
I think for sure coming out the gates, the Claypool deal to me, there's probably a lot of people who look at the Chase Claypool to the Bears deal and they're thinking, doesn't really move the needle. He was better on Pittsburgh. And to me, this is an ideal situation for Chase Claypool. He gets to come in and prove that he can be the number 1 wide receiver. And I get it. Darnell Mooney's on the team, but we know what Darnell Mooney is. He's a deep threat. And at the end of the day, if he doesn't catch in a 30, 40-yard pass, he's probably not helping your fantasy team out very much. So I think Chase Claypool is going to be what they're looking for to help Justin Fields out, to help this Bears team, like that helmet in the background there for you, Anthony. And to me, it's one of those things, man, where sometimes a guy wants to roll more than he wants to win. And I think that's Chase Claypool. He's looking for the bag. He wants to get some targets. And Justin Fields, he needs a guy in the intermediate. Like he was rocking with St. Brown and N'Keal Harry and all these other question marks at the receiver position. They go and get Mapletron is what they call it. Shout out to Canada for the Maple Leaf. And yeah, man, I think it's a really good
that's
move.
where we are, right? That's where I am.
You know what I'm saying? We
You're bringing a Canadian
right?
to my Bears, who have given me like years and years and years of
emotional damage.
Emotional damage. So you really think? So I'll tell you, when I heard the trade, I was still crying. Right, because they're trading away all my defensive players, right? Robert Quinn, Roquan Smith. Like I was depressed. Then they trade, and then they get Claypool. I'm like, is he really? You think he can come in and be a fantasy? We're talking, number one on this team.
I do. I think he's the best receiver on this team, and it might not show week one. Might have to get acclimated to the offense. And Justin Fields, I mean, what's he throwing for 200 yards a game at max? So it's not like there's a huge opportunity for him to come be this top 15 wide receiver. But what I do see is a consistent 3 to 5 targets for this guy, some reverses, just action shots to get him the ball, get him in space, and let him work. We've seen him in Pittsburgh. That's when he's at his best, is when he's on the run, able to do things with the football. So to me, Chase Claypool is a rock solid wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 at worst.
Okay. Daniel, are you going Buffalo or are you going somewhere else?
No, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to change a little bit of gears here. I think for the biggest fantasy impact that it potentially could be kind of in a sense, a league winner. I'm just going to say this. I think it's actually Jeff Wilson that goes to the Dolphins. First of all, I think that Raheem Mostert is kind of just this average to maybe above average running back, but Wilson kind of did good on the Niners. Like he did good. And you have to think that the Dolphins are going all in this year. So they're already on an explosive offense. So now, especially in the playoffs, you want to be able to run the ball. And I think that Jeff Wilson has that opportunity to, hey, he's going to take some time. I get that. And that's someone you could just stash on the bench. But during the playoffs, we've seen, like, for example, last year, Rashad Penny, going off in the playoffs. Like, no one knew about Rashad Penny or no one had him on the team. And it's kind of the same thing. Like, everybody dropped Jeff Wilson. I picked him up in a league the other day. Everybody dropped Jeff Wilson because McCaffrey came up straight up. Right. Like, there's no one really boarding Jeff Wilson
all of my
in
leagues.
most leagues.
I think all my leagues
he's available. It's just natural. And so I think that, in most leagues, he's available. Scoop him up. He may be the Rashad Penny of 2022.
Let me ask you about another guy. So I had, before Mostert kind of became that guy in Miami, I had Chase Edmonds, and he helped me in the first few weeks, get me a couple of wins, and then now he's, he's just sitting on my bench, and I just haven't had the heart to cut him. Any value now that he's in Denver?
Yeah, he moved to Denver, and to me, it's not the greatest scenario because you already got Melvin Gordon, you got Latavius Murray. It's like castaway land out there for the Denver Broncos right now. There's so many options. It doesn't seem ideal, but the one thing with Chase Edmonds is that we know he can catch the rock. We know they don't like Melvin Gordon, and we know they just signed Latavius Murray, so they're not that invested in him. They had to trade something to get Chase Edmonds. So at worst, he's going to get an opportunity to show he can be somewhat of a back for this team that he tried to show in Miami. It didn't work out. I think for this Broncos team, the best case scenario is he's a flex. Worst case scenario is you can find him where you can put him where you found him, right there in free agents.
Well, or can I drop him for Jeff Wilson? Is that would that make sense?
I would do that.
Yeah, I would be okay with that.
I hate dropping guys because every time I drop a player, the next week they have like this huge game. It drives me nuts.
It's like a stock. Whenever you sell the stock, it feels like it shoots up right after you sell.
If you want stock advice, just say, "Hey, Anthony, which one are you dropping?" I'll be like, "This one." Go all in on that one because it's about to take off. Another one I wanted to talk to you about is Mrs. Fluent is all in on TJ Hawkinson. I don't know why it seems like year in, year out, that's her tight end. I was looking at Irv Smith prior to the trade. Now I'm having second thoughts. Is that a good move? Should she stick with him, TJ Hawkinson?
I'll take this one, Justin. I think that TJ Hawkinson is a guy that really, as a prospect, I thought he was great coming out. Um, I think that it's going to be tough though. At the end of the day, you got Justin Jefferson on one end. He's going to command a bunch of targets. Thielen's still that red zone threat. Like he's better than the average wide receiver too. Like out there in today's game, I don't think he gets enough credit. And so to me, I think he could probably have some good games. He's going to have the same. I don't really see a stock up, stock down. I see kind of the same for TJ Hawkinson. You may have a good blow up week, but overall, the tight end position is horrible this year, right? It's Kelsey or nobody. So I'm okay if you do have.
I think I was looking at Irv Smith,
right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I think you're okay if you have Hawkinson. You don't have any other options. Yeah, roll him out there, but know that he's got to have to learn the playbook. So it's going to take him probably 3 weeks to get acclimated.
You know who I think TJ Hawkinson turns into on the Vikings? Irv Smith. It's a role. It's not necessarily a talent thing. Irv Smith's out 8 to 10 weeks. I expect some blow-up weeks from TJ Hawkinson where he has 100 yards and a touchdown or two, and there's going to be a lot of duds, 2 catches for 20 yards, and that's it. Mm-hmm. On that team, it's Justin Jefferson or bust.
Because you got, to your point, Jefferson, Thielen, you didn't mention Osborne, and then you got Cook running in the backfield. So there's a lot of mouths to feed there, right? All right. Is there a trade or move that just has completely destroyed someone's fantasy value or taken the biggest hit because of?
I thought we were going the other direction. I was going to say the Pickens deal. We didn't get to touch on George.
Okay, hey, Gabe, there's another good one. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that's skyrocketing. My counterpart over here has been preaching about George Pickens. I'll let him get to it, but George Pickens, man, arrows up for my guy Pickens over there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'll just make a side comment on Pickens, man. I really love George Pickens. I thought George Pickens was the guy coming out in the draft class. I still do. I still think that overall, in the long course of time, I'm a big dynasty guy when it comes to fantasy. And I think that over the long term, the next 5 years, I think George Pickens is the wide receiver one in that class, over Drake London, over Garrett Wilson, over Olave. I knew that going into this year, it was going to be tough. He had Claypool, Deontay, and then that quarterback change. Who knows? But the Steelers have made it very clear. This guy, he was drafted in the second round, should have been a first round pick. They've seen all they need to see out of this guy. He's special. In fantasies, maybe not going to be there quite yet, but he could have a second half surge. But long term, man, he is the Steelers' number one. And I said it day one. Day one, he stepped on the field. He was the number one receiver, and so far, it's turned out true.
Okay, so they're making moves to kind of prove that Pickens is that guy, right? We're getting rid of they let Juju walk in the offseason. They're getting rid of Claypool, so it's Pickens and that's it. Really, but do you again? My quarterback is the issue here, right? In Pittsburgh, can they get him the ball?
That remains insane right there. He's got to take the next step. And, when you got a rookie quarterback, you're going to see flashes. You're going to see times where he looks great. And there's going to be times where he's throwing as an interception to lose the game. Like that's you're going to get with Kenny Pickett. So I think in order to do this, though, they had to make a move like that. They had to take out the quote unquote cancer in the locker room or somebody that's maybe causing distraction. Let Pickens own his role. Let Deontay Johnson own his role. Try to get Najee Harris involved, and they're on a bye week this week, so it's the perfect time to do it.
I want to go back, actually, prior to the deadline deal, and I want to ask you, Tony, Kadarius Tony, Giant, comes to the Chiefs. Any fantasy value there? A lot of people had him thinking he was going to be that guy in New York. He didn't turn out to be that. Any upswing in a very, very busy Chiefs receiving corps?
Yeah, I was huge. Tony. Yeah, I was huge on the Kadarius Toney train, like huge. I thought he had blow-up potential this year, and it didn't happen. Giants, I was expecting Brian Dable to come in there and kind of turn around his path, and it looks like his path was continuing south, so they had to make a change. They sent him to Kansas City, but to me, it looks like more of the same with all these Kansas City Chiefs receivers. Mecole Hardman, MVS, Juju Smith, they're all going to be very inconsistent. So Kadarius Toney will have his opportunity. I'm sure it's going to be at a lower scale than those other three I just mentioned, but he'll have some flash plays. He'll look good. I don't see a true fantasy path to relevance in his future, though.
All right. That's a shame. I have him on one of my rosters, but I might just
Dynasty maybe.
stay goodbye. It's not a dynasty. I mentioned my guillotine league. If I make it to like week 12, I do have Deshaun Watson. Does that keep him or make it that far? You think he's gonna have a fantasy impact when he comes back?
Man, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the Browns are okay without him, so but I think he's going to ultimately start. He's going to have to. I mean, they
The
paid him
Browns
that
are the
way.
Browns without him. Stop
They're,
it. They're not okay. They're
well, hey, they just
gonna
they
get.
just they just they just kicked the crap out of the Bengals, right? So to me, they're okay. Like they're okay. I'm not saying they're Super Bowl contenders or anything like that, but ultimately, if they can make the playoffs somehow, some way, and Deshaun Watson comes in, that's still a scary team. Amari Cooper's doing fantastic, man. And shout outs to the Cowboys for giving Amari Cooper away for cheap, because I seen Claypool get a second, but then Amari goes for a 6. So I don't know. NFL is weird, but I don't see it. If you have the depth at bench,
I do projects. I have projects.
Yeah.
So I had DeAndre Hopkins stashed sitting there. His suspension came up. I popped it. I replaced him with Watson in my stash. I always have a stash slot.
Gotcha.
Now, the only thing with Deshaun Watson is that you're not getting him back. So he was an 11-game suspension. The team has a bye. You're not getting him back until week 13. There's some rust to knock off when you haven't played for two and a half seasons. And so when you're talking about week 13 and then maybe week 14, he starts to look normal. Fantasy playoff starts week 15.
Well, this is guillotine, so we don't know how we're a 15-team guillotine, so that could be championship week. And I told you I got Zach Wilson and Justin Fields, so I'm thinking really far ahead.
I think maybe in a guillotine league, if you're absolutely desperate, or if it's like a best ball where it starts your best player, your best start.
You got to put him in.
Oh, you're not putting him in. You got to have the cojones to put him in, and I don't know about that.
Listen, I started Malik Willis.
Yeah, you have the cojones, so keep him.
Last week in my Players' Choice League, I started Malik Willis over Aaron Rodgers to prove a point.
God damn.
He stunk.
Point proven.
But I still won. I still won. Hey, I got Nick Chubb, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp. I'm good.
Oh yeah, you're solid anyway.
I'm good. All right, so I do want to talk about your Bills. So Naheem Hines moves to the Bills. I think it's kind of a busy backfield. Does he become? And he's more of a kind of receiver out of the backfield. Does he become the number one, or are you thinking spot work?
No, I don't see him as the number one option. I think that number one, he has to learn the playbook, and let's just he's got to get that down. He was brought in as kind of James Cook insurance to back up Singletary. The Bills are kind of like the Eagles in a sense that they are very analytical. They go by the advanced metrics, and they know that running backs are replaceable. They're a dime a dozen. And this is what they wanted to do all offseason. They signed Duke Johnson. They try to trade for J.D. McKissick. All of these guys are the exact same. They are small, can pass protect very well. They can catch the ball very well, and they're explosive in the backfield for Josh Allen. And that's all they need. They know that they can't run the ball. So what do they need to do? Make sure that position is going to be healthy in the playoffs. Because ultimately, if Singletary were to go down, they need the same type of guy to just come up and replace him. So to me, I don't think Hines does any value. I wouldn't be going to the waiver wire to get him. It's just he's a running back by committee of the third down running backs. Like that's what it is. Jeez, so okay. It's still Singletary's show.
So you bring up a good point. You said you're not running to the waiver wire for him. Who are you running to the waiver wire for?
Yeah. So to me, I'm going to go back to it. I think Jeff Wilson is someone that I would be running to the waiver wire just to snag and to stash. I still believe that, that this Dolphins team is built to win the Super Bowl. Now, they've made these moves, especially getting Bradley Chubb on defense, and they are ready. They're ready to roll. So I mean, as a Bills fan, I'm nervous, man. I don't want them to get better. That wasn't the plan. So I wanted to just roll through that division. And so to me, I would run, and it's kind of hard to think about who's on your waiver wire, because if you have a good league, there should be no one on the waivers, man. There should be no one there. But there are some leagues that are a little bit kind of have that option. And so to me, it's Jeff Wilson.
So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I look at the waiver wire, I'm going to counter Dan. And so even though Dan and I are both fantasy gods, sometimes we don't see eye to eye on things. And one of them is Naheem Hines. I think he does have some standalone value, and it seems like they made this move to get somebody involved in the passing game. Devin Singletary's been that guy for him, but I don't think they want him to prove that he's the workhorse back. I think they want to spread the work a little bit. And so Naheem Hines, to me, has 3 to 5 catch potential every week, probably 3 to 5 carries. To me, that is in 12-man league right now, there is no running back depth. So I feel like if you can go get him in your 12-man league, go ahead and get him. But then also some of the trade targets we were talking about are definitely pickups. Claypool, Pickens, if they're available in your league. 2 deeper targets. And I'm kind of giving Dan some ammo because we're in the same league together. So sometimes I give him a little bit of my gut thinking on this. Devin Duvernay may be out on your waiver wire. Somebody I wouldn't typically recommend, but with Rashad Bateman out for the next 3 to 4 weeks or potentially longer, Devin Duvernay is a target. And then much deeper, you got to reach in your bag for this one. Terrace Marshall Jr. is quietly seen over 80% of the snaps for this Carolina Panthers team and was targeted heavily in the red zone. They missed him on a few opportunities there. He's not projected for a whole lot in your leagues just yet. I'm sure that'll change. Go get Terrace Marshall Jr.
All right, so I'll give you some names. I'll give you some names that are available in more than 50%, 40% of leagues, because you said running back isn't deep. So I'm just going to throw out some names: McKinnon, Hilliard, Michelle, Burkhead. Like that's the top projected running backs in our leagues. I can't even see your Marshall guy. I'm sure he's there somewhere down the line.
He's a wide receiver. He's down there.
He's down there. I'm going through wide receivers and running backs.
He's probably projected for like 4 or 5 points. Yeah. But over the last 2 weeks, he's seen the
there he is, Marshall.
That's a deep. I'm telling you, that's one of those sleeper guys that's going to come up, and his projected total will be changed here very soon because he has the juice. He's the number 2 receiver for this Panthers team.
Yeah, he's projected him in my main league 7 points this week against Cincinnati.
Bump it up.
All right, I'm marking him as interested. Yeah. All right, who else we got on my? Again, I'm going with mine. Wilson on the Jets. So Claypool is available. So
yeah,
Claypool
would be the top pickup, I think.
Anytime I can pick up a Bears player, I'm picking up a Bears player. All right. All right. Well, before we started, you said we have to talk about, and my memory stinks. So you're gonna remind me. So we have to talk about this. Who's moving up and down the list? That's what it was?
Oh, buy sell candidates.
Buy sell. There we go. Buy sell.
We had to talk about buy sell candidates because there's some players right now, and especially buy candidates. There's players that are elite talent that a lot of people are discounting right now, or asking themselves, should I hold on to this guy? Does he have the same value? One of those players is Devontae Adams from the Las Vegas Raiders.
Tell me, what should I do?
He's had a couple bad games.
In that league, I got Derek Carr. I got Derek Carr and Devontae Adams. That was my stack that was going to take me to the promised land. And can you believe I won last week with Derek Carr, the scoring base in this league. It's standard PPR.
Yeah.
With Derek Carr and Devontae Adams giving me a combined 0 because Carr was -1 and Adams was 1.
You had Malik Willis on that team too, right?
No. That was my player's choice. That was my player's choice league. That was my player's choice. No, this league, it was Alvin Kamara who went for 42 or something that saved my ass. So if I have those two guys, so I'm glad you brought up Devontae Adams because I'm thinking trade him.
Nah,
if someone would take him.
In fantasy football, the one thing you have to capitalize, and we talked a little bit about investing earlier on, you invest in the talent. So when you know that the talent is there, you don't panic when things are the lowest. That's when you go buying. That's when I go shopping. When everything looks the bleakest and Devontae Adams is terrible. He's only had 1 catch. He was coming off the flu, didn't have a good week of practice leading up to it. This is a buying opportunity. He didn't have a great game before that. To me, I would be searching right now for that panicking Devontae Adams owner and going to get him because he's a top 5 option no matter what. Anytime he hits the field, he's top 5 in option. So that is one of the buy low candidates I had, starred for this show for sure.
Okay. You got to buy or sell, Daniel?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off of really quickly off of Devontae Adams. He's still top 11 in average points per game. So, the talent is still there. The points are still there for you. I think the biggest buy low right now on someone that really could panic based on their record is still Jamar Chase, right? So we know that he is going to be out through the bye week, and he's probably not going to play in the next 2 games. And then you got that third bye week. There could be owners that are panicking. They know the talent, they've seen the talent, right? It's similar to Adams, and he's only averaging 3 points more than Adams. So it's not like he's a boom guy more than Adams is. And I think Adams is probably more of a buy low, but go get Jamar Chase. Like, I know he's hurt, but that's when you're talking about stashing players, that's a guy that you love. Hey, stash him. Buy the talent always. I never sit my stud, so buy the talent.
Who are you selling? Oh, actually, yeah, who are you selling? Who are you selling? I want to ask you about some quarterbacks too, but who are you selling?
So I'm just gonna go selling quarterbacks. I'm gonna sell Geno Smith. I think at the end of the day, to me, I just don't see him as a talent at that level. I think Geno Smith is great for the Seahawks. I think they got the most out of him. I think they're getting the most out of him. And me and Justin always talk about the tryhards. Like, he's not an elite talent. Nothing is easy for Geno Smith. It's never been. He has always grinded his way. But when it comes to fantasy, you want the most superstars on your team, and Geno Smith is outperforming his ADP, is outperforming all the things that you look for in fantasy. So I think when talking about quarterbacks, sell high on Geno Smith.
So you writing him off?
I'm writing him off.
He might not write back.
He might. That's fine. That's fine. But I'm selling Geno Smith.
All right.
I'm going to sell him for the high.
Yeah,
you got to sell.
I think he can get the job done. But one of my sell high candidates right now is somebody that just performed really well this last week. Deontay Foreman for the Carolina Panthers is not somebody I'd be wanting to hold on to. And right now, we talked about the nature of the running back position right now is bleak right now on free agency. So if I had Deontay Foreman as my fourth, third, maybe fifth running back, I'm checking the league right now. Who needs a running back? And selling him right now for the highest possible price. You could probably get RB2 value out of him right now just because of the game he had. A lot of people are calling him a league winner. I don't see it.
I want to ask you about a trade.
Ooh,
I got to pull it up. So I want to ask you about this trade. So
trade questions are fun because everybody wants to win the deal. And sometimes it matters more. How does it help your team more so than did you win the deal?
Well, the thing, so it's interesting that you say that. I also say that people always overvalue their own players, especially if they drafted them. They're like, I drafted them for a reason, and oh my god. And I always tell people the example, and I forget who the players were, but last year I was fighting hard to say, look, here's this, and it was doing it to prove a point. He's averaging 17 points a game. Yours is averaging 12. Make a trade. Nope, can't do it. Mine's better than yours. I'm like, no, they're not. All right, here's the trade. Joe Mixon. Going out.
Yeah.
You're getting back Cortland Sutton and Damian Harris.
I'm keeping Mixon.
Keeping Mixon?
Keeping Mixon. It's not even close.
It's not close at all.
Not close at all?
Not close at all.
No. I think you're banking on preseason value with the Harris and Sutton side, and I think it would be more valuable week one or before week one. That could be a deal that I'd consider because preseason I had Russell Wilson doing well. I thought that he would transcend. I thought this is what we want to see out of Russell Wilson. Let him cook. He's got all these weapons, Sutton and Judy and all this stuff, but now value's changed. Today's price is not yesterday's price, and so to me, Damian Harris is a nobody at this point. Stevenson is the RB1. So what I'm getting from Mixon is that backup RB and a guy that really hasn't really produced in Sutton. Judy's kind of taken over that role, and to me, Mixon still has the ability to be that RB1, that top 10 guy, whereas those other guys are just kind of mid. Like I would want Sutton as maybe my wide receiver 3. If I'm lucky, he's my wide receiver 4. If he's higher than wide receiver 3 for you, if he's a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 1, you lost. You're not going to win the championship. And Damian Harris, what is Damian Harris doing for you? It's really nothing. He's not doing anything for you, especially if Stevenson is healthy.
All right. I don't hate that answer, but let me paint a scenario.
Do it.
You're in desperate need of a wide receiver, 2 or 3. Yeah, I call it wide receiver 3. I call you back and I say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna flip. I mean, Cortland Sutton's still in there, and you need a wide receiver. You only have 2 on your roster, so there's no one else. You need a wide receiver.
Okay.
But I'm gonna change Damian Harris. I'm gonna put in CEH.
Still ain't enough.
Yeah. I just
Still ain't
can't.
enough.
I'm not.
I needed you guys to say something else so I could send this video to my cousin so he would make this video.
Hey, we keep it real on this. Oh, hey, when we come on, we got to keep it real, man. Because you know
Gotta
what?
keep it-
All right.
It's when I look at
Is it
players like
Sutton?
that,
Is it the Sutton that's just a weak link?
it's both.
I think
It's
it's both,
kind of
yeah.
both. It's the inconsistency out of running back it's tough to deal with. And when you have a rock solid player like Joe Mixon, who's proven that he's an elite talent, it's tough to give that up for 2 pieces who maybe when you pair them together can get the same amount of points, but separate, that's 2 spots on your roster. That's the problem.
Hillier is, I want to say, only 2 or 3 points behind Mixon per game.
But he already lost the starting job.
And
so
that's why, right?
That's the thing. Like you already lost. Yeah, like to me, it's Allaire. I thought he's done enough to keep the role. I really liked Isaiah Pacheco. I didn't like him as a prospect because he was 7th rounder, coming out. But he has proven me wrong. He's
they love him too.
He's big. When he runs hard and he runs in your chest. So I really like Pacheco, but now he's already, he's taken over. He's the starter at this point. So Clyde, for me, it's like, man, if he maybe was the starter and was still proven to be that guy, like, okay, then now if you really desperately needed a wide receiver, I could see you going Sutton, but you'd have to believe in Sutton. You'd have to believe in Russell. And then you're like, okay, well, at least I know Clyde's going to be that RB2. And so then you can kind of bank on, okay, for Mixon, I got that. But Mixon right now, he's a top 10 running back. He's top 10, and we know that he has potential to be top 5. And if the Bengals get right, which I think they'll still be okay, especially if Jamar Chase comes back, it's go time for Mixon.
All right.
You mentioned Cortland Sutton. Like Cortland Sutton is the guy. I think you're right. It is Cortland Sutton. It's the fact that we don't believe in him. And I think for when I look at Cortland Sutton, I think of like Christian Kirk, Curtis Samuel, just somebody that's you can start him, but every single week you're going to question yourself and say, is this the guy I should put in my lineup? The name value early on was attractive, but now we've seen him play, and we know he's just not that talented. So, I'm not going to say not that talented. He's not in the right situation right now to help your fantasy team. So, in my opinion,
am I dropping Sutton? Am I dropping Sutton for Claypool?
I don't know about drop.
I don't know about drop. Yeah, and here's another thing too. With that deal, Sutton's on a bye this week. So how does he help you? If I'm actually going to make that deal, I'm going to do it next week. I'm not going to, I'm not going to. I don't like that. I hate and that's a good move if you're the opposite player. It's like, I'll trade you. And the dude's on a bye, and I probably play you. So now the dude's on your bench. So it's a strategy game when it comes to fantasy. But for me,
I'm trying to win a trade.
I love it. Hey, send it off because worst case scenario, what do? Hit accept, counter, decline.
No, I tried. I gave him all the facts and figures to make it seem attractive, and he's standing tough on his keeping.
No, sir.
But he's got like 6 running backs on his roster and 2 wide receivers. I'm trying to help you out. You need another receiver. All right. That was a lot of stuff. I'm gonna leave you guys with give me one last nugget. Anything other than it can't be something we talked about. So your guys have come to you and they said you're gods from the chest. What's that piece of advice, be it for this week or moving forward, that this is what you need to consider doing?
Don't panic on your record. There's a lot of time left in the season. If you're 1-6, 2-7, whatever the record is right now, the math is bad on both of those. It's week 9. Right now is not the time to panic. It's the time to be assertive. So if you've been contemplating making that trade and you're scared to make it, make the trade. If you have been looking at adding a player, and be a little bit more aggressive. There's not a lot of time, so wins count more than anything. Secure the bag. Don't worry about winning every single week. Just try to win that 1 week in front of you. Improve your team. Do what you can to get in the playoffs. Anything happen in the playoffs.
Let me ask you this quickly on trades. I'm in one league where there's like a trade every 5 minutes. I'm in another league where I believe we're averaging 1 trade. I've been in this league for 10 years, and we're averaging 1 trade per season.
Mm-hmm.
I like the first league. Give me the first league with the action. Because you can.
Is there something you can do to get those guys to be more they're active? They're on the waiver wire. They're dropping their pick. It's not like they're not involved. 10 years. They're and big money. They're invested, but they are scared. So scared. And I think it's my fault because the year that no, I'll tell you the truth. The year that, and I can't remember who it was, but the year that Le'Veon Bell they were thinking he was going to sit out, and then they weren't sure. And whoever finished number 1 that season, where he sat out the entire year, I made that trade. So I had drafted Le'Veon Bell because we did our draft early, and then I was like, I don't know that he's going to play. And then someone said, "Oh yeah, I'll take Le'Veon Bell for Jamal. I don't know, call it Jamal Charles, right? Because that's the only name I could think of that had a big year." And I was like, "Whoop!" And I definitely won that trade clearly, right? Because one guy doesn't play and the other guy is the number one. His RB1 that season.
I want to say it was Adrian Peterson.
It might have been. It might have been. And then no one made a trade. Like no trades ever since that. They were like, "Nope, you took advantage of everybody." And I'm not saying just with me. No one makes trades with anybody.
Yeah, that's tough. I think the biggest thing is if you are trying to motivate people, sometimes you guys got to take the L on a trade. Like you know that you're going to lose the overall trade, but you get your players, right? And so that kind of gets the ball rolling. Like, hey, yeah, you won a deal. Okay, congrats. And then you just kind of like, it's just, to me, I don't really care about winning or losing a deal as long as I get the guys I want.
But Dan, you don't be trading though. You don't trade.
I don't. It has to. Well, that's true. Like I don't really trade because I feel confident in my abilities to win. And so to me, like in most of my leagues, I feel strong, or I'm in position to take ownership. So I'm confident in my ability to draft. Number one, that's like the biggest one for me is identifying your ADP and your drafts, and that's why you guys follow us, and that's why like we give you the advice preseason because we want to get you set up. Justin is more of that in the season. Hey, how do I adjust? What do I need to do to go? Am I buying low on a Devontae Adams? You know, like am I a shark and I see blood? Like Devontae Adams is leaking right now. I'm gonna go grab Devontae Adams, and that's what Justin does. That's why he's so good at what he does. So to me, it's two different strategies. And but if you are trying to actively get players to trade, I think you kind of got to just let them.
Yeah.
You know,
okay.
take
well,
the
see,
bait.
I'm with you. I'm really good at the draft. I always start my seasons 4-0, 5 like player choice. I started 5-0, then I lost 2 in a row. Okay. And then I won again this week, so I'm 5 in a row, and I lost 1. Excuse me, now I won again. So whatever that is, 5-2, 6-3, whatever the hell my record is, or no, 6-2, 6-2. Yeah, I'm
draft and hold is the strategy for third place. A great draft and hold is the strategy for third place.
Third place. All right. Well, that's probably why I don't win as much as I should. Fair enough. All right. I'm going to end it with this basketball question. On my fantasy basketball team, I have Miles Turner.
Yeah. Justin, that's you, man.
I hope.
Do you want to know the whole roster? Will that help? I hope he gets traded to the Lakers too. Yeah, me too.
I hope, man.
Would the roster help you?
Yes, it would.
All right.
Are you asking me to trade for Miles Turner, or are you asking with him?
I'm saying I got Miles Turner. What the hell should I look to move him?
I think you got to wait for the trade.
Wait for the trade. Okay.
It's gonna happen. It has to happen because all they're waiting for is Russ to flame out. If he flames out at he flamed out in the starting lineup. They moved him to the bench. He's playing well off the bench. If it flames out on the bench and this team is sitting at 2-10 in a couple weeks, that trade's getting done ASAP. The Lakers basketball cannot be losing basketball with LeBron James on the team. I think they have to do something.
All right, you're wearing a Lakers hat, so I'm gonna ask: are you a Lakers fan, or are you just wearing a hat?
So, good question. Most people just assume when I have a hat on that I'm a fan of the team, but the Lakers are my squad.
Do you have the same magazine in the background as I do?
Which one? The Kobe? Oh, brother. I knew there was a reason, dog. I love it.
I turned it around because I like the the back of it. Have you seen the back?
I used to have that same Slam poster. It was in the Slam magazines back in the day. I had that same poster.
All right, then we good. All right, so I'm holding on to Miles Turner.
Holding on to Miles Turner.
Yeah.
All right, where can we find the fantasy gods? Hope I'm saying it
right. You guys can find us pretty much everywhere, mainly on TikTok, man. So the Fantasy Gods, GAWDS, and we're there. We're on YouTube, Twitch. We both have, we have the Twitter accounts. Both of our personal ones are up there. Justin's personal TikTok is going crazy now. But we're always here, man. Go ahead and DM us, hit us up in the comments, stitch our stuff, tell us we're trash. We don't care. We do not care. You know, we still
we don't boo you. We don't boo you.
Yeah. You know, we just love what we do. You know, crazy that we're even in the position that we're in, even 2 years ago when we started the whole thing. So thank you for having us on the show. Appreciate it.
No, man, it was great. My fault. I've been trying to get you guys on for a while because I love what you do. Daniel, just a piece of advice. You know why his TikTok's blowing up? He's live all the time.
Yeah.
He's going live all the time. I see him and I'm like, I jump in, I grab a couple of nuggets of gold. I'm like, all right, I'm out. And he never responds when I comment anyways. So, you know, I just leave him.
I don't see it. I would. If I saw it, I'd pin it. I'd pin it up there.
All right, guys. I appreciate you coming on. It's the Fantasy Grill on the Fired Up Network. And of course, now you're more fluent.